Hey, this is Splatterhead.
And this is Fitz.
And you're listening to the Fan Club Blitz. All right, Fitz, here we are again.
Another day at the good old Irish Cottage.
Another day. The last episode sounded like a 35-minute advertisement for the Irish Cottage Inn.
And rightly so.
All right. We'll slow down on that a little bit.
All right, people. Just like our intro song that was kindly given to us by our Irish punk brothers, the Skells, sit down and have a drink, you bastards, and listen up to some Fan Blitz.
That's right. On this episode, we're actually going to talk to Igor, who is a founder of the New York City Doll Fans, which Fitz was a little confused about that. He was like, why are we talking to doll collectors?
Right, yeah.
But turns out that's what the Dolphins fan club goes by.
Same difference. Dolphins fan,
right.
Doll collector.
And we don't know exactly how we're going to do that yet. We came in here prepared with all this new equipment, and we don't know how it works. So we're going to figure it out, and we're gonna make that happen.
You know what? You know what we should talk about? This is something that's very important, especially to football, and more importantly to our fan club. Beer.
Beer.
Let's talk about beer for a minute.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
I'm familiar with it.
Now listen.
I went to the beer store down the street from my house there. I think you've been there too.
I have been.
And I walked in and there was a lady there, and she had some samples, and she said, "Excuse me, sir, would you be interested in trying some Beck's?" No, it was Moosehead, and I said, "I've tried plenty of it."
But I'll try some more.
I'm not going to buy any, but you're handing out tasters. Let's go.
Let's talk about beer, though. I mean, I get it. I like some of the craft beers. You know, it's interesting. But what's going on with some people now? It's getting to be, you know, it used to be like that. The wine people were like the pretentious pains in the asses. Like, now it's beer. It's freaking beer, people. You know, you're sitting there, you're looking down your nose at somebody who buys a Miller High Life. It's beer. And by the way, Miller High Life is still the original recipe brought over from Germany a couple hundred years ago. The land of beer. So, Come on.
Yeah, you know, I used to, back when, before there was such a thing as craft beer, when it was called microbrew.
Yes.
Back in the 90s. You know, I lived in Seattle. Microbreweries were really taking off up there. In fact, we had Red Hook out there. It was one of the first ones. And that's actually, you know, it's named after Red Hook, Brooklyn.
Right. Yeah.
There were a lot of them, and I got into it. You know, it was pretty good stuff. But it just seems like over the last, I don't know, especially the last 5 or 6 years, like, you know, what really gets me is 4-packs. That used to be like a rarity, right?
Right.
And I wouldn't buy them because there's only 4.
Right.
Now it's like everybody makes a 4-pack, and I'm a big stout guy.
Yes.
I love stouts, and I get so angry when I go down the beer aisle, and every stout I'm like, good new stout. I pick it up, and it's got nutmeg or bananas in it, and I'm like, I just want a stout.
Yeah.
And then I just go get a Guinness. Because you can't go wrong.
No, you can't.
And by the way, you know, Guinness only has 125 calories.
They do.
It's official. It's the greatest beer in the world.
Listen, and you know what? I'm glad you said stout, and I call stout Guinness, and in a pinch, Murphy's. Not saying there's some good stouts out there from some of the microbrews or whatnot, but
do you remember
it is what it is.
There was a stout from Australia, Sheaf, I think it was called, and it was, you know, back in the 80s, 90s, you could find
I don't know if I don't remember that.
That was a good stout, and it was, you know, Australians, and Australians are cool.
It wasn't like coffee cocoa bean flavored?
Nope, it was stout. It was beer flavored, and it was good stuff. It had like a little laurel leaf on the bottle.
Oh, nice. Did it come in a 4-pack that cost $24.99?
No, you know what? It came in like a big 22-ounce bottle. I don't think I've ever even seen it in a 6-pack, and it wasn't. That's the other thing. These bottles of beer that are, every single one of them is like $12 now.
Yes. Yeah.
It's one beer.
Exactly. You know, you like to support. Wow, it's a nice local craft brewery. It's in the neighborhood. You want to support it. It's costing you $6 a beer at a liquor store. I get that if you're at Yankee Stadium or at a high-end bar, but I'm buying a six-pack. It's costing me $32. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I like different kinds of beers too, but
yeah, I like the sample.
Don't look down at people because they drink Miller or Budweiser or Yingling. You know, you're not special because you drink this special beer from your local microbrewery. You're just another jerk off that likes beer. You just like to spend more money on it on a regular basis.
Right. There's no need to take out a notepad when you're drinking beer. Like, this one has hints of just listen, you're ruining it. Just drink the beer.
Oh God! And when I see people swirl that, it's a beer mug. You're swirling around like it's a wine. Like you're somewhere like in the Mediterranean. Stop it. It's beer. Drink it like a man.
That's the other thing. With I like a good glass of wine too.
I do too.
But you know what it tastes like? Grapes.
Yes.
It doesn't have hints of raspberry or none of that stuff is in it.
No.
There's no earthy. No, it's grapes. It tastes like grapes, like fermented grapes.
Yeah.
It's good.
Right.
I like the red. I like the white.
So do I. You know what has a nice fruity undertone to it? Cider, because it's made from fruit.
That's right. Yeah. And it tastes like apples or pears.
Yes. It's not that difficult.
Mead tastes like honey.
We can go on all day with this. We do like to dabble in the adult beverages, just in case you haven't picked that up. We might have a whole episode on tequila. We probably will.
Probably. Whiskey.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we could go. We could do a lot of this. We could do full, hours on music on.
This will take us right to football season without even talking about football.
And we have very eclectic taste when it comes to our music.
Yeah. We'll gain some fans, we might lose some.
Hey.
But we don't really care.
So I was as I said before, I was digging around online looking up football related topics and specifically fan related topics. An article came out not long ago discussing the teams that have the best and worst fans in the NFL, and they rated this on who travels the best and who spends the most money, and the Raiders didn't make that list.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, doing this podcast and like reaching out to fan clubs and booster clubs, if you look up booster clubs,
right,
you're gonna find 100 Raider clubs, and that's it. It's very difficult to find booster clubs or fan clubs of these other teams. There's some out there, and I've managed to track a couple of down.
Right.
I mean, when it comes to booster clubs, the Raiders are everywhere, and we still don't make the list of best fans.
Yeah, there's got to be something wrong with that, and not for nothing, and this is not even me being a Raider fan, but just through normal observation, and you can attest to this. Raider fans have almost every possible bit of Raider merchandise that they can get their hands on. So you want to talk about spending money? I mean, we have the Christmas ornaments, we have the koozies, multiple jerseys, shirts, hats. I mean, it's almost like we're a Raider hat a day. I mean, we can go on and on with this. Raider mittens, Raider scarves, Raider jewelry. And I see it all the time with the Raider fans. So I that's a jaded list.
Yeah, it's these, people hate us. As much as the league,
and I love it,
is against the Raiders. They just don't want to pay any attention to the fans either, and they paint us in this negative image all the time. Couldn't be farther from the truth.
Right.
We're all family guys. We're all, I mean, sure, every team has fans that are knuckleheads, But if you're one of those fans and you're a Raider fan and you're going to a game and you're starting fights with people and doing that crap, then we don't want you anyway. I mean,
right.
People are bringing their kids to a football game or trying to enjoy themselves. But I think Raiders fans let those guys know, listen, that's not what we're here for. We're also not going to take any crap.
No. And that all being said, I'm glad the NFL hates us. I don't like to be loved. It's fine. And we all know, as long as we know as our group that, you can bring your family to our events, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. It just irks me that we constantly get benign. We're always we're always left as like an afterthought, when we know that we've got some of the best fans in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because, if you hear like the people talk, it's like, don't even think about going to a game in Oakland. You'll get killed. There'll be a drive-by in a parking lot. Come on.
They're confusing us with that stadium over in Santa Clara.
And they're also confusing us with when the Jets play. I've seen some hairy crap go down with Jet fans where they're almost attacking like 12-year-old kids.
I'll tell you what, one of the roughest games that I ever went to was a Jets-Dolphins game. They're just mayhem. I mean, people were getting thrown out left and right. Now, mind you, again, I guarantee you that when we talk to Igor from the New York City Dolphins, it's not his guys. It's none of his, these are guys that are supporters of the team. They put a lot into making sure that their image is presented the way that the Dolphins would want it presented. But you get these knuckleheads everywhere.
Oh,
and, Jets fans, Dolphins fans, and it's every team. We have our share of knuckleheads as well. But I don't think it's as bad as it was, back in the 80s in L.A., but...
No, definitely not. And that's the funny part. It wasn't... They could talk about Oakland, black hole, Oakland. It like you said, it was hairier when they moved to L.A.
Yeah, L.A. was rough. I mean, I've heard stories of guys going down to games in L.A. and getting threatened because they had an Oakland Raiders flag out. But that's not the kind of stuff we want to talk about anyway. We want to talk about the positive stuff with fans and fandom. It does get under your skin a little bit to be put into that light.
Especially they make it seem like, we're the exception. Like we're the...
Right. Well, that's what they always did with the team, too. They played it wasn't playing rough when the Raiders did it. It was breaking the rules, and everybody else could do the same things, but it was okay. They were just tough football players, and the same thing with fans. I mean, that's kind of what brings us all together, right? I mean, the Raiders were always the outlaw football team, and then the fans, we're the outlaws of the fandom community, and I think that's kind of what brings us together. Not when I say outlaw, I don't mean criminals, but I mean
renegades, rebels. Yeah. That's actually funny because that brings up a whole other topic that always bounces off my head. I watch games with friends of mine, other teams. There's always every team has their troublemaker, their head case, their problem child, and it's funny because my friends always say, "Oh, he'd be perfect in Oakland." No, he wouldn't. We don't want idiots. We don't want troublemakers. We didn't have troublemakers. We had guys that didn't like to play by society's rules. You had Kenny Stabler, who used to thrive on 4 hours sleep, study the game plan the night before at a bar, then show up at the game and be clutch as always. That kind of guy. Not guys that are beating up their girlfriends, doing drive-bys, whatever nonsense, or just not even being productive on the team. Because you know what, this day and age also gets under my skin a little bit. A lot of these players they're prima donnas now. They don't want to put the time in. They're better than everybody. And I'll never forget, I keep trying to remember the guy's name and I can't. It was back in the late 70s. I think he came over from it might have been from the Jets. And he came over to the Raiders. Practice was over. He was walking off the field and Tatum goes, "Where are you going?" He said, "Practice is over." He goes, "No. Practice isn't over." He goes, "Get back over here." He goes, "Let me show you something." He goes, "Look over there." He goes, "There's Bolitnikov. He works with the defensive backs after practice to show them how to cover receivers." And vice versa. They had the receivers showing the D-backs how to cover them, D-backs showing wide receivers how to break their coverages. He goes, they would go for about an hour after the official practice was over, and that's why they were great.
Well, I think that was a commitment to excellence.
Absolutely, because they wanted to win. They can call them the criminal element. They can call them, troublemakers. They weren't. They were just hard-hitting, committed, great football players that wanted to win. They just like to live by their own rules a little bit. They weren't doing anything bad. They like to go out and have a good time, and they like to play football.
Yeah, absolutely. And they played it well.
They absolutely did. It was just unfortunate. We love and hate the teams, but they were in an era where the Steelers are great, the Cowboys are great, the Dolphins are great, the Vikings are great. They were just in an era where there were so many great teams. Otherwise, they just would have been so dominant during that whole stretch of the 70s.
That's true. But, we were pretty dominant with our record.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a little miss here and there.
Hey, you know what time it is?
What time is that?
Tom here with the Truth with Tom on the fan club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz. Got a couple things to talk about. Some scheduling stuff came out. They posted the schedule. And I kind of chuckled and threw up and got another drink at the same time. You know, now I'm basing this strictly on the debacle of last year. And I look at the schedule and I see one game that we should definitely win. And then I look at it a little more and I see 4 coin flips. And then the rest, we're going to get punched in the face if Johnny doesn't turn the whole ship around. So that's, you know, what are we looking at? 5 and 11 if my math is correct? I don't know, maybe. I think it is. Yes, 5 and 11. However, there's good news. The odds have been posted in Vegas, and they have over and under for the division wins. And they have San Diego at 9.5 wins. They have the Raiders at 8.5 wins. And they have the Andy Reids and the Donkeys at 7.5 wins. So, as you can see, while our schedule may look like we're going to get 5 wins, Vegas, as we all know, is the man behind the green curtain over there pulling the switches. They're saying 8.5. So, I don't know. They know something we don't at this point. Haven't seen anybody do anything, but, you know, they get paid the big bucks to cook this crap up and have us throw our coinage down on it. And I've seen some over and unders for a couple of our star players. Mr. Skittles, they have over and under rushing yards at 650. And they have him for touchdowns at 5.5. Now, if I was a betting man, which I don't all the time unless it's a box or something stupid, I would take the under on yards. Only because, I don't know, got a lot of running backs to feed the ball to. I would take the under on that. However, touchdowns, I would take the over. All right, we got Carr as the last one. They got him over and under 3,800 yards, 22.5 touchdowns, and 13.5 interceptions. Away from what I've heard everybody's talked about, from what Johnny says is going to go on, I would take the over on all 3 of them. So, I don't know. What say you? Call in. You got to drop your coin on it? What are you going to do? I mean, what do you think? Is Vegas wrong? Is the scheduling wrong? Am I right? Who cares, really? But until next week, ladies and gents, this is the insane rabblings of a cocktail-sipping Tom on the Fan Club Blitz with Splatterhead and Fitz.
All right, so on the line tonight, I have Igor from the New York City Dolphins, and thanks for calling in.
How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. So, you're a New York City Dolphins fan. That's got to be, this would be kind of fun, right? A lot of Jets fans in the city.
Yeah. It's, when I first moved up here, I honestly didn't know any Dolphins fans, and I Googled Dolphins bars in New York. This is like 2006, and I found a bar, and I went there, and there was one other Dolphins fan, and it wasn't for a couple of years until we started finding some more people.
And what are your numbers looking like now at the bar? I know I've walked past there, and seem pretty hot on game day.
Yeah. I mean, we've been growing pretty steadily since we started in 2008. And we went from having about 35 people the first year to over 100 that next year, like opening game day. And now it's probably on a big night, probably about 400 people, anywhere from like 40 people on a really bad night at the end of the season when we've lost a ton of games. So we always have at least 40, 50 people at the worst, but it can get over 400 pretty easily.
Right. Yeah, I think I told you I have I'm a member of the Black Hole fan club here in New Jersey, and we have the same experience, when we're hot, it's jumping. And then we have our core group, which is, 30, 40 people
that are there
no matter what. Yep.
And you guys do, you guys are, luckier than we are because, you pretty much have a game guaranteed here, every year.
Yep.
So you guys organize a big takeover at MetLife, I see.
Yeah, that's our, big event every year, and it's really what's helped grow the club because we're now a bucket list on any Dolphins fan. If you ask any Dolphins fan on the planet, they'll know what the MetLife takeover is,
Right.
People always that's the game, you go to. If you're a Dolphins fan who lives in the middle of nowhere, you want to go to Miami or you want to go to to the MetLife takeover. It's one of those big events. And I'd say we average over 1,000 people every year. And we own something like the top 5 or 6, group ticket purchases in that stadium's history. So it's a pretty insane event.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Actually, the only time that I've been to MetLife Stadium was for a Jets-Dolphins game. And, it gets pretty wild. I know that, from myself being part of a fan club that's, officially affiliated with the team, we try and make sure that we represent ourselves in a way that the team wants to be represented in, as well. But I know it can get pretty rowdy at
Wait, you guys are Raiders fans. Isn't the way that the team wants you to be rowdy?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a misconception. Yeah, we're outlaws. We're rogues by nature, just like the team. But, you see a lot of fans, just don't know how to act and they harass kids and,
Yep.
People go to games and they bring their families and they want to have a good time. And, as representatives of the teams that we support, I'm sure that you're like we are, that you want to, you've got to uphold some standards. I did see some crazy stuff at that Jets Dolphins game, but it was usually, it wasn't anybody in a big group. What's your take on that? On people that just don't have that?
Absolutely. It's a big thing for us. The reason we started this was because the very first time I ever went, I almost got in a big fight with a Jets fan. And there was like 4 of us and someone started stuff with us. So the next year there's 35 of us and then 70 and then 200 and, 1,000. But
right.
People don't mess with us now. If we were losing the game, we'll hear it, but we haven't had any real problems. Got a couple drunk people in our section that really were getting into fights with other Dolphins fans, just people being idiots because you've been drinking all day.
Right.
But I talk to all the security guards that are around us, and I said, listen, if you have any problems, talk to me and I'll shut it down. We tell everybody before getting on the buses to go to the game, like, don't fight anybody, don't do anything stupid. And we haven't had any major problems, and I'm thankful for that. We do have like a kids section where we sit a bunch of people together so that, they're not around people who are screaming and cursing all game.
Right.
But, we're definitely obnoxious.
Of course. There's always the banter and we have a good time and yeah, I get that. We do have to divide. We've got to draw a line somewhere and I think sometimes people cross that. And usually I find those people aren't people that are actually, members of organized clubs. Cause I don't know, are the Dolphins, is that an official, is that something you guys came up with, or is that an official, booster club attached to the Dolphins?
Well, originally it was just us, but, so the way I met my partner, Michelle, who I run the club with, is that her and I both ran Dolphins websites on our own. And the Dolphins invited us down to this thing called the Miami Dolphins Web Weekend, where they would invite all the people who run Dolphins websites to Miami. And basically, it started out as sort of like a way to try to control us. And they'd be like, okay, here's what you can do. You can't use our likeness. And it seemed to us like, it was just this kind of gross thing at first. And then they very quickly realized that was a mistake. And they were trying to buy us off. They're like, oh, here's this tickets to a game and all this fun stuff, but like you have to do what we say. They learned really quickly that was not a good idea. And so in the years after that, and this is 15 years ago when the first one happened. And now it's become a thing where people all gather together. You talk about your websites, you do community service stuff together. We talk to the Dolphins social media people. We talk to the coaches, do, interviews with, coaches or players or different things like that, alumni. And it's really become a thing where they're not telling us what to do, but they're working with us to promote their brand. And I found out these girls, Michelle, they're both named Michelle, the two Michelles, lived in New York. And so I said, where do you guys watch? And I started watching with them, and there was a group of about, 5 or 6 of us, and then it became 35 of us on the 100, and, so on like that. But so we already had this connection to the Dolphins before we even started it. But, once we got pretty big, they really, they send people to every one of our tailgates. People from the Dolphins show up and they give us, signed stuff to raffle for charity and things like that.
That's great. That's awesome. It's nice to have a relationship like that with the team. And it's neat how it started out one way and then it's kind of evolved into something else.
Yeah, what's cool is because of what we've been doing, a lot of other fan clubs who either existed existed for years but were never really outspoken about it, or new clubs that just started because of us. We have now sort of organized a group of us, and we do, pretty much any city you go to, there'll be a huge group of Dolphins fans that are organized and going to those games together.
No, that's great. I mean, the Raiders have a long history of booster clubs and fan clubs, and we've all kind of learned from each other, like how to organize these tailgates and how to, organize not only that, but all these clubs. And that's why I don't want our show to focus primarily, only on the Raiders. I mean, the rest of our show is about the Raiders pretty much, but our interviews, I want to bring in clubs from other teams, because people don't realize that, aside from just getting together and watching games and organizing tailgates, I mean, we do a lot of work in the off season. There's a lot of charity, there's a lot of community service, there's a lot of things that all of these clubs do from all of the different teams that, I really appreciate. And even if I don't support your football team, I definitely support the work that these fan clubs do.
Yeah, a big part of us from the beginning has been the charity aspect. It basically started off as a way where we wouldn't fight about money. We'd say, hey, if we raise any money selling merch or doing raffles or whatever fun stuff we wanted to do, we'll just give it to charity, because that way, we never have to argue about anything,
Right.
We never have to worry about someone pocketing some money or, stuff like that. And then the other thing is we wanted to put Dolphins logos on stuff, and we figured the Dolphins would be a lot more receptive if they knew we weren't making money off of it. And we now donate probably an average of between $10,000 and $15,000 every year to different charities, including the Miami Dolphins Foundation.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's great work. So tell me a little bit about, I always like to let people promote their venue. So tell me a little bit about the bar and where you guys meet and how people can contact you. If there's any Dolphins fans that are traveling through New York, or any Dolphins fans that, listen, that are in New York or in New Jersey, that want to hook up with you. Tell me about the bar. Tell me about what you guys have going on.
Yeah, our bar's called Slattery's Midtown Pub, and it's kind of like, you wouldn't really think of it as like a crazy sports bar. It's a pretty traditional, like, Irish pub kind of feel. But then in the back, we have our whole little Dolphins NYC museum that, people can check out all year round. And I just talked to them yesterday. We're about to redo the whole thing and repaint it, put up some new stuff that we got in the last couple of years that hasn't been on the walls. And then, obviously on game day, that place is out of control. And then, we're on at Dolphins NYC on pretty much everything, dolphinsnyc.com, and, MetLifeTakeover.com. If for some reason there's a Dolphins fan out there who wants to come watch the game with us and doesn't know about it already.
Awesome. And as far as game days go at the bar, it is a bar, right? So it's not family friendly, I assume.
So it is. It's a restaurant, so technically anyone can be in there. And we do have a lot of kids who go there. Now, there's a lot of screaming and cursing and stuff, and so, it's basically like if you would bring your kid to a tailgate, then bring them to the bar,
Right.
We're definitely family friendly. Just depends on what your family is,
Right. No, we have the same deal. That was one of my big things when I found our spot here in Jersey was I wanted to make sure that people could bring their kids and that they they could that it was an option because I used to go into Peter Dillon's, which is great if you're a Raiders fan. It's a lot of fun. But on the other hand, I've also seen people go there and have to get turned away because they showed up with their kids, and then that's a bummer. So, but we found a great spot that people can bring their families to. But we also let people know, it's a football game. We're Raiders fans. It gets a little rowdy, and we do have a really sizable swear jar. So usually people just drop $20 in it when they walk in the door because they know. They're going to fly at some point, so you might as well pay in advance. But we raise a pretty good chunk of change with that.
That's a pretty funny idea, except I could not afford it.
Yeah, it does hurt a little bit, but it's kind of in a way, it's kind of because at first we didn't have it, and then I would get, hey Chuck, kids, because we get quite a few young kids that come in. And, we'll set up a little table and they'll color and, scream Raiders and stuff. It's a lot of fun, but yeah, we do let them fly. So the jar helps, but it also hurts a little bit. What about off season? Any events coming up or you guys,
oh man, the second the schedule comes out, we're working on MetLife TakeOver 24 hours a day. I mean, it is so much work. I mean, we have to deal with, building. I mean, I cannot tell you how long it took to build the website. I mean, the website's already built. Just put all the information up and go through everything and talk to our tailgate partners and talk to the bar about what they're going to do on that day because, we take buses from the bars and we have to organize the bars and promote it and send emails to press. I mean, it is a full-time job pretty much from when this time the schedule is announced up until the game. And especially with it being week 2 this year, it is, there's no time for off season. We usually do a draft party because the draft used to be in New York and we always did an event for it. Right. But I went to the draft this year and my partner lives in Miami. She had a kid and moved home. Oh, so we didn't do a draft party this year. I mean, we had the draft on at the bar and I told people they could go there, but it wasn't a big thing.
Nothing official, right?
Yeah. So pretty much we're done for the off season. As soon as the Dolphins lose, I switch into hockey mode, and my team's the Capitals, and so I'm still in hockey mode. Pretty much.
All right.
Just celebrating the only championship of any team I've ever seen in my life. So we haven't done any off season stuff.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. It's got to be an astronomical amount of work organizing the tailgate and the whole takeover, and it's commendable. And I'll tell you what. Like I said, I'm not a Dolphins fan, but I appreciate anybody that doesn't like the Jets or the Patriots. So I can get down with that. And I have a question about that, because I'm a Raiders fan, and I'm going to let this go when the Texans let the Alamo go. You saw the Tuck Rule game or seen highlights. Tell me, that was a fumble, right?
Yeah, of course it was a fumble. The Patriots, they brought out a snow plow to shovel the field during an extra, field goal against us. Like, we don't need to talk about, the Patriots. I'm on your side for any Patriot-related thing.
Had we won that game, I don't think we'd have ever seen Tom Brady again. That's the real killer, because he's a backup in that game. And anyway, we won't go off on it. He's your division rival, not ours. It's not even a big rivalry for us, but it kills us.
But everyone hates the Patriots. You're not going to find any Patriots fans. No, they don't exist unless they're Patriots fans, you know.
Unfortunately, I work with one of them, but he's a young kid, so right. They enjoy
that. Those people, dynasties are the worst. Nobody enjoys that. Not even the people who. I mean, like. I was talking to a Yankees friend of mine who is a Caps fan, and he's like, I could care less the Yankees are doing great this year because I've seen them win so many times in my life. Like, what's the point? You know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's just not fun anymore. It's not fun for anybody. People always talk about these great dynastic teams, and it's like no one wants to see a team win 4 out of 5 years or something. It's not fun for anybody. That's why basketball is so stupid right now. Yeah. I mean, LeBron James played in 7 straight. I hate the Patriots. I don't think it's good for the sport, and them losing was really wonderful this year.
It was great. Even
though the Eagles had to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I grew up in D.C., so I have a strong, and I live in New York. You know, it's like I went from from D.C. to New York, so pretty much Philly has always been a hated city, you know.
Right. Absolutely. And it did suck to see them win because I like the fact that they went the one time and we shut them out, and then it would have been nice to have them lose again, but I didn't want to see the Pats win. I just can't take it anymore. I grew up in California, so it was, I grew up with the 49ers dynasty, and then being right across the bay from us was just, you just got so sick of hearing about them. Joe Montana this, Joe Montana that, Jerry Rice this, you just got so disgusted with it. And now, we have the Patriots, but I don't know. Look, it's time for some other people in these divisions to move up. Hopefully, you guys can do something this season.
Yeah, me too.
And we were pretty excited last season, but this year I'm not letting the hype get to me because
it would have been brutal when Carr went down. What a nightmare.
Yeah, it was rough. Well, I think... But
you know what? The Eagles did it. Somehow they lose their quarterback and somehow just keep going. Really ridiculous. But yeah, I got no ill will towards the Raiders. I always thought, that stuff was cool.
No, there's no rivalry there. I mean, we play each other every once in a while, and if you go back to the 70s, there was some...
see a Hams game.
Yeah, there's
but, I wasn't alive in 1975.
Right, yeah, I was alive, but I was too young to care. But yeah, I mean, now at this point, it's, there's other teams out there that I would like to, I want the league to have more equity and to see other teams, get out there and make the ruckus and have fun and for their fans. Look, I sympathize with fans of teams that, here we are again. It's the Raiders. It's I don't sympathize with the Jets, but
I have no problem with them. I mean, even the Bills.
You know what I'm saying?
It was like I was kind of like, oh, well, the Bills made the playoffs. That's nice. Like, but yeah, the Jets. I hope they lose every game.
Right.
There was an AFC Championship twice.
I secretly cheer for the Browns every year to win a couple of games,
Me too.
You can't help it.
I mean, I can't this year because Jarvis Landry has really done a heel turn on us. He's like my favorite Dolphin in years. And I'm pissed at the Dolphins for letting Landry go, but he's really he's been talking smack about the Dolphins ever since he went to Cleveland. And
yeah, that's the worst. I hate it, And we have that clown, Marquette King that, thought he was the greatest football player in the world. I mean, dude, you're a punter. And he's over with the Donkeys now and, just running his mouth and acting a fool. And that, that stuff just drives you crazy.
Yeah. But I don't know how I feel about the Browns. But I rooted for them because I really liked their GM, but then they fired their GM because they couldn't win any games, and so I don't have a lot of love for them. Although it would be really fun.
I got no love for them. It's just there's a little bit of me that goes, I just like to see them win 2 games. And nothing past that. I really don't need them to do any better than that. But it would be nice. And
I mean, if Tyrod Taylor was good, it would be pretty hilarious. Just because the Bills, let him go.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the call. If you got anything you want to throw out there before we get off the line, any message to Dolphins fans or football fans in general, anything you want to say and shout out, now's your time.
I got nothing. Just Dolphins at MetLife Takeover. That's about it. If you enjoy hating on Jets fans, we got a bunch of videos from previous MetLife Takeovers on our website. They're pretty fun to watch. A lot of smack talk.
I'm sure a lot of people will check those out. Oh, hey, I wanted to ask you something. I hear that you have a Raiders fan that is a core member of your group there.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. I love that guy. I think he comes to Dolphins games even when the Raiders are playing and just doesn't watch them sometimes, which is bewildering to me. But he's friends with a couple people there, and he just says, he has a lot of fun at our bar, just like watching with Dolphins fans. So he shows up in his Raiders jersey. And we have another guy who's a Titans fan, and we don't show any other games at the bar. It's not like they can go watch their game downstairs or something. Like, there's only the Dolphins game on. And we have these 2 guys, one Titans fan and one Raiders fan, and they're there nearly every week.
The Raiders fan's got a great Raiders bar like 4 blocks away from you guys too, which is even funnier. Yeah, no,
he for some reason he doesn't like it, and I'm not sure why.
Right.
Like he has some problem with them. I don't know exactly what it is. We actually have a Dolphins fan who is the same guy who, when I told you at the beginning, when I first moved to New York, I found this one Dolphins fan. That same guy, he thinks our bar charges too much for alcohol, and so he goes and watches at the Raiders bar.
Wow.
And
they don't put the Dolphins game on there.
He texts me. He's like, look at these specials they got. I'm just like, man, I don't control the price in a Midtown bar.
Exactly. It's New York. I don't know what you're expecting in Midtown Manhattan.
I mean, I get it. I don't drink, so it's obviously not a big deal to me. But I totally understand if you're spending $100 every Sunday or something. But
sure, but if you're a Dolphins fan, what are you doing at the Raiders bar? You can just watch it from home. Or I don't get it. But
he just it's his buddies. His buddy's a Raiders fan, so it's not like you.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, I think we all have one. I mean, we have a guy that comes to our games who's a diehard Packers fan, but he does also love the Raiders. But he's a Packers fan. If he had to make a choice, and he comes from like 45 minutes away and drives every weekend and comes and hangs out with us. And one of his buddies is a big Raiders fan, and he doesn't drink. So when we take a trip, we'll go visit one of the other Raiders clubs in New York, and he'll drive, and it's great. But
that's funny. Yeah, when I was in college, I went to Penn State, and I used to always watch a Steelers fan. I watched every Steelers fan for 2 years, probably, or every Steelers game for 2 years. But I couldn't get into a sports bar then.
Right.
So,
right.
Then I turned 21, and I haven't missed a Dolphins game since.
Right.
It's funny is that Raiders fan he came one night when we were playing on Monday Night Football or something, and he came straight from work, and so he wasn't in his Raiders jersey, and he and I were arguing about something, not like fighting, but just like yelling at each other about some football thing, and the owner of the bar saw this, and he was like, do I need to take care of this guy? And he just didn't recognize him because he wasn't in his Raiders jersey and thought he was like actually trying to fight me.
Just some random, bar guy.
I thought it was funny. So funny. I was like, hey, it's the Raiders guy. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
That's funny stuff. All right, man. Well, I think I've covered everything, and I will. I'll shoot you an email when this episode is. We're a couple weeks ahead with our episode, so you're probably going to be. Not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, this should be out. And I'll send you the link and the details, and you can let everybody know.
Yeah, I will.
Appreciate,
all right, man.
Appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and have fun this season. And maybe
you too. Good luck.
Maybe if I'm in New York, I'm rarely there on football days anymore because I'm with my own crew. But every once in a while, we swing to Peter Dillon's, and maybe I'll stop by and say hi.
Absolutely, man. That'd be great. I'll be there unless I'm in Miami.
All right, man. Thank you very much.
If you're a Dolphins fan in New York, you've got the information where to go.
Yeah, and you know what? The one thing that just draws me to this Dolphin fan club is that they're such a big rival of the Jets. They're not the Jets, so I'm just drawn naturally to them.
Yeah, no, it's great because anybody that's not the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because it's not even a natural rival of ours anymore. I mean, we had our moments back in the day with the Jets, but it almost seems to a fault that most of the Raider fans I know, we hate our AFC West. And we have our other natural, the Steelers and the Seahawks from back in the day. But they all everybody hates the Jets.
It's true. I mean, look, and there's some, I mean, what's to like? But
bad.
Not that you're gonna catch me wearing any Miami Dolphins gear anytime soon. But are there worse colors for a football team?
No, it's phlegm green and white.
And what is going on with that stupid helmet on that Dolphins head? That's got to be hurting Flipper.
Yeah, I don't know. What? Like I said, I don't rightly care too much about other teams. But at the end of the day, I'm still kind of a little bit of a traditionalist. I don't mind the tweaks to the uniforms here and there, but you know what? You had an emblem that worked for you for 50 years. Just stick with it. You streamline it's a cartoon dolphin on your helmet. You have to streamline it. Just leave it as it is. It's silly.
I agree.
I don't get it. What I do like though, and I don't know if you remember this going back. It might have been like maybe the early 2000s.
I might. I have a hard time remembering yesterday.
I do. Yeah. Well, I remember the Jets were making a big play. They wanted to change their image. They wanted to change their uniforms. And what did they want to do?
They wanted to put the map of New Jersey on their helmet.
That too. But they wanted to go all black.
Of course, everybody wants to go all black.
And they got the slap down from the NFL saying, no.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, the black is where it's at. And you know what? I got to give them credit for wanting to get away from the phlegm jerseys.
No, I do too. But what is the deal? All these teams that, they just want to be the Raiders. You know what really just gets under my skin? Because like I said on our first episode, Raiders fans, we see each other, we see somebody with a Raiders hat a couple blocks away, and we're gonna head over there. I work in New York. I walk about 16 blocks each way from Port Authority bus terminal to my office. I am so disgusted with these stupid Brooklyn Nets hats.
Oh, God,
Brooklyn Nets. Because I think I'm seeing a Raider fan. It's like a shield, and it's silver and black.
And they did that on purpose. They know that it's a whole marketing scheme, which gets us back early to what you said about us being not money-buying fans. We should be on that list. When other sports are trying to copy us.
I mean, didn't the Nets used to wear red when they were in Jersey?
Yeah, they were. I believe they were red. They had red, white, and blue at one point, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not a huge basketball person by any means.
I'm not even a small basketball person.
But I remember, I know there was red involved, and I believe there was blue at some point.
It might have been, but it wasn't silver and black. It was not
silver and black.
And then, speaking of the NFL blocking the Jets on that, why do they let these teams do that on Thursday Night Football? Why do they let the 49ers, of all people? Because, listen, the 49ers are not a huge rivalry for the Oakland Raiders unless you're from the Bay Area in California. And it's a gigantic rivalry.
Right.
The Battle of the Bay, and we are absolutely the winners.
Yep.
It's epic. It's epic.
As it should be.
And then we got to, they throw us in white on Thursday night, and they put the 49ers in black. It doesn't make any sense.
No. No, you know what? I hate those stupid. What do they call them? Color rush? Is that what it is?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Ugly.
I don't know.
I think they're gone now, though.
They would have to. I mean, did they get any complaints about like people's kids that are epileptic having seizures or something? I go, I mean, the colors, like they jump out of the TV and smack you in the head.
Oh, those Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh God, yeah.
Hey, that reminds me, we got something coming up, don't we?
We certainly do.
So I will actually give a shout out now to John Brown from Long Island City in Queens. John Brown's Smokehouse, Long Island City. Supposedly, this is a Kansas City Chief bar.
Who would have thought?
Mr. John Brown is a Kansas City Chief fan. There's some Kansas City Chief former players who are regulars at the place. I believe that one of them lives in Jersey and hangs out there.
Well, that amazes me. I mean, we're not even that crazy being Raider fans because we're a nation, a worldwide market, basically, at this point. I mean,
right.
But the Kansas City Chiefs in Brooklyn?
No,
Queens. In Queens, I'm sorry,
yeah.
In Queens. Yeah, still let me end that stupid Brooklyn Nets crap.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's bizarre.
It is bizarre.
That's bizarre.
But I found them. And I sent out an email. And listen, there's a Donkey's bar in New York. There's a Chargers bar in New York.
Wait.
I emailed them all.
You know what, though? I can understand. Listen, the Donkeys I understand because, you have all those Johnny-come-latelys, when they started winning with Elway towards the very end, when they changed their uniforms. And then all of a sudden you started seeing Denver stuff all over the place. Like, really, nobody was a Denver fan prior to that.
But I'll tell you what. I emailed the Donkeys bar. I emailed the Chargers bar. There's actually a couple Chargers bars and a couple of Donkeys bars, but I reached out to them, and then I reached out to I found this Kansas City Chiefs place, and it looked cool. I read an article, the interview that they did with the guy, and they did with Dante Hall. Anyway, I reached out to all three of these teams or their fan clubs. 2 days after I emailed the Donkeys guys, I heard nothing. 2 days after I emailed the Chokers, I heard nothing. I emailed this guy from the Kansas City Chiefs club, and about 5 minutes later, I got an email. And it said, first of all, I'd like to tell you to go f*** yourselves. Second, this sounds like a great idea. And he followed that up with, would you like to do this at my place? Well, normally we do these interviews over the phone, but when I get an invite...
Absolutely.
...from a Kansas City Chiefs bar, I'm under an obligation to not turn that down.
No.
Yes, we are coming. We are coming.
You're damn right we are.
We are going to sit down in this mustard yellow and ketchup red Kansas City Chiefs murals on the wall, disgusting place in Queens, and we are going to conduct a very professional interview with John Brown, and he said he might even have a couple of guests for us to talk to.
Which would be awesome. And you know what? At the end of the day, nothing less for our most hated rival. It's perfect. I mean, to have a Kansas City Chiefs bar in Queens, that's insanity. And that's why that's befitting for our most hated rival.
Absolutely. And they are our most hated rival. But I'll tell you what, I have a lot of respect for this guy, and I think it's going to be a pretty interesting interview and probably a pretty interesting relationship.
Yeah, I'm gonna predict that there's gonna be a lot of ball busting, a lot of F-bombs, a lot of screw yous, a lot of you guys suck. But at the end of the day, I'm guessing that we're all gonna have one hell of a time.
We're gonna have a great time. They're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Can we? Maybe we should actually make a gift of them.
Whatever we're gonna do, I think it's got to be a surprise.
Yeah, I have a couple good ones.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to erase that. Forget I just said anything about any kind of a gift.
Yeah.
The gift is going to be us.
That's right. Well, Fitz, I think that's another show.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounded like a show. We'll see how that makes out after the mixing.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, by the way, we were downloaded in over 18 countries.
Wow. I'm wondering what they think of us.
We'll see on the next episode if we're still downloaded in over 18 countries. Then we'll get a pretty good idea.
I'm going to predict the only reason if we are downloaded again, it's only because they haven't met us in person yet.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're all wonderful people.
No, they haven't met us.
Oh,
that's
right.
Although we are cuddly and lovable. That's all I can say about us.
Absolutely.
Especially the truth with Tom, man. Tom,
that's
probably
right.
the biggest teddy bear we've got.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for listening, and don't forget we're on Murph's Fan Cave. So if you're subscribed to that, you're getting stuck with us anyway.
Yeah.
We hope you guys are entertained. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We might listen to some of it. Probably not, but we might.
Yes, absolutely. You know what? Give us a call. Any questions, anything you want to talk about, give us a call. Questions for Tom at The Truth with Tom. He always wants questions. He thrives on questions. He wants to answer people's questions.
Absolutely. Tell us what kind of guests you want us to have on the show too. I mean, we're focusing on fan clubs, booster clubs, and that's what we're shooting for. Obviously, we're getting a lot of Raiders clubs on here. What do you guys think about us having, Kansas City Chiefs team, Miami Dolphins team? I mean, I think it's fun. I think it's pretty cool to reach out and talk to these other guys and, bust each other's chops a little bit.
Right.
But build a relationship, because you know what? What people don't realize is a lot of these booster clubs and fan clubs are not just about football. They're not just about the teams that they support, but they're about their community. Everybody does a lot of charitable work. We organize a lot of events. There's a lot of work that goes into this off season, during the season. Actually, it gets a lot busier off season, because during the season we're too busy just watching games, going to games. The off season comes around, and that's when we put a lot of work in. It's a good thing to get involved with, but we want to support, even though we would never support another football team. We want to support these booster clubs and these fan clubs, because no matter what team that they've decided to follow for whatever reason.
Lost a bet, maybe.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, but for whatever reason, they've decided to support these other football teams. It's mind-boggling to us, but they're still doing good things. They're doing good work, and at the end of the day, we're all football fans, and I support these guys.
Right, and like I said, we're all fans at the end of the day. They're they're wrong fans, but we're fans nonetheless.
Right. These rivalries are fun, and they're about busting each other's chops and having a good time. Like I said, these booster clubs, these fan clubs, no matter what team they support, they're all doing good, solid work.
If you are a member of a booster club that's not a Raiders booster club, I urge you to take some time, sit back, think about your choice in life.
Yeah, reevaluate your decisions.
I mean, like Chuck said, we can't even try not to even think about it. It's hard to even fathom. It's kind of like, how the hell did that ship get into the bottle? It's we don't even think about it. It just, I don't know. But just take the time, think about your choices in life. You can always make a better choice.
Yeah, but we don't want you.
That's true, but there is help out there for you. Call 1-800-ASK-TOM.
All right. Take care.
We'll see you next time.
Right, this is Tom. I guess we're going to be wrapping up our show here. If you have any questions for me, or you want to call in and talk about anything you want on the Raider Fan Club Blitz, our number is 732-798-0257. Feel free. Ask me about Mr. Skittles. I love Mr. Skittles. We're also going to give a shout out to the Irish Cottage, our home base. They are located at 602 Route 23 North in Franklin, New Jersey. And their number is 973-827-2090. And give us a call. Let us know what you think. Questions, comments, anything you want to say. Feel free. Talk to you next week. Bye. Good? Oh, I got it.